3 or French 4 would now count for that World Perspectives class instead of a social studies class, a traditional social studies class. PE and health, our current students are required to get 3 credits, 2 in PE, 1 in health. That will actually change to 2 credits, and now they will just be required to have 1 PE credit and 1 health credit. 5 credits, right now the state is calling this directed electives, and basically what they mean by that is under the academic honors core 40 diploma structure, there were specific the classes that students had to take in electives. For example, you had to take a fine arts course to get your academic honors diploma. So that's kind of what they're calling directed electives, and they're saying on this side by side that they're no longer requiring those directed electives. However, if you jump down to the next one, personalized electives. So prior to this, they had 6 other elective credits that they could get. Now they're saying that these 12 credits are all personalized. We're going to talk a little bit more about what that actually means as we get a little bit further down, but basically they're saying that they now don't have any directed electives. They would all be these personalized electives that students could choose. And then the last column there, college and careers. So this is one that the state has kind of wavered back and forth. Preparing for college and careers used to be required for students to take and pass to get high school credit to graduate. Then they took it off, and so students no longer needed it for graduation, and now they've added it back on. So right now our students currently get that course in 8th or in the middle school at some point, either 7th or 8th grade. So they get that credit there, but we would obviously be offering a section or 2 of it here as well for students who didn't get it at the middle school or who transferred in. So basically takes that whole requirement from 40 credits previously to 42 credits. So on the back side of that, you will see the new part of the diploma. So the irony of this is that they keep saying that they're going from all these different diplomas down to 1 diploma, but we're kind of looking at this, and it basically looks like to us that we've now gone from 1 diploma to 7 diplomas. Because if you look at the back, in addition to earning that future diploma on the front, students can now earn a seal. So there are different types of seals that students can earn, and those are aligned kind of with those slides that Michelle showed you of enrollment, employment, and enlistment. So they're basically asking students to kind of pick a lane here, and if you want to go for something beyond just the base diploma, you can pick this enrollment lane, which basically means you're planning to enroll in college after graduation, employment, which means you're going straight to the workforce, or enlistment, which means that you are planning to go into the military. So basically what these seals are doing is the first top of that column, there's an honor seal for all 3 of these. So in addition to earning those credits, if students earn these different criteria underneath enrollment, employment, enlistment under the honor seal, they will get this additional seal. So on the first one, for enrollment, it's very similar to the academic honors diploma categories that we kind of already have. Students have to take a certain amount of credits. Thank you. Sorry, I left my handout back there. I can't even see that, but that's great. So for enrollment, students still have to complete 4 world language and 6 social studies credits. So this is kind of where those personalized electives are only really personalized if you're not getting one of the seals. If you're getting one of the seals, then they start to get a little more directive on the electives. So you have to take 4 world language and 6 social studies credits. You have to complete at least 8 credits of math. You have to have 6 science credits that are directed to biology plus chemistry and physics or some other advanced lab science. You have to get a C or higher in all of these courses and earn a cumulative B average. And then you have to complete one of the following. You either have to earn 4 AP credits and take the corresponding exams. You have to earn 6 college credits, or you have to earn a score of 1250 on the SAT or 26 on the ACT, or earn a combination of the following things below that. So 2 AP credits and some college credits, you can kind of mix and match there. So to get that honor seal, those are the criteria students have to complete. When you jump over to employment, again, the criteria that they have to meet to get the seal, they have to earn a market-driven credential of value that's aligned to a specific occupation. So we'll talk about that a little more in a minute, but the state publishes a list every year of the market credential values that they consider appropriate for this. And so they tell us if a student earns the credential, then they can check this box. They can take 3 courses in a career and technical education pathways. So the pathways that we offer here, like building trades or engineering or marketing, they can do that. They can do an approved career preparation aligned to the CSA program or an approved locally created pathway, which we also have some of those in our civic arts pathways. They also have to complete 150 hours of work-based learning. They have to demonstrate skill development in communication, collaboration, and work ethic. And there is an assessment that students would have to take to demonstrate that. And they have to meet the attendance goal, which means they can have no more than 3 unexcused absences in a year. In the enlistment seal, this is for students planning to go to the military. They have to take an introduction to public service course, which we'll be offering. Or they can be in 1 year of ROTC, which we don't currently have here. They have to achieve a certain score on the ASVAB and do a career exploration program tool, which we have. They have to meet that same attendance goal, and then they have to demonstrate these same skills. For the enlistment one, they actually have to have a mentor that is either current or former military serviceman or veteran. And then if they want to do the honors plus seals, it's all of those same requirements all at the top, and then they have to do all the additional things that go along with them. So I won't go through all of those, but for example, in honors, you would have to do all of those things plus either earn a credential, be an AP scholar with distinction, which means you took at least 5 courses and 5 exams and got at least a 3.5 average on all of those. You'd have to do 75 hours of work-based learning. You'd have to do the skill demonstration. So a lot of rigor and a lot of really directed time for students who are trying to complete these skills. Okay. So basically a summary of those changes. They've removed those core 40 in academic and technical honors categories. We're going to this one main diploma with the 6 different seal options. Credits are going from 40 to 42. Language arts still has 8 credit requirement. Math now has 7. Science, technology, and engineering goes to 7. Social studies down to 5. PE and health to 2. And then adding back that prep, college, and career. So the courses that the state has basically added back or added new is students now have to take the prep CC course, so preparing for college and careers. They now have to have a 1 credit communications course. They have to have a personal finance course. They have to have a computer science course, and they have to have a STEM focused course, which is really, as we'll kind of look at here in a minute, what was traditionally science credits really now move out of the science department because those courses they currently have on the approved list are things like principles of construction, principles of engineering, animal science, a lot of classes that really fall within our CTE courses. So a little bit different definition of STEM, because when we first saw it, we're like, wait, doesn't the S in STEM stand for science? Like, why are they not traditional science courses? But they gave us a very specific list. The final thing on this, students who plan to graduate early have to earn one of the seals. So any student planning to graduate early, whether it's a year early or a semester early, have to have earned one of the seals prior to graduation to do that. So when we look at the 3 boxes that the state has given us of what students have to meet, these 3 boxes still exist. So this first one is the credits. The second one is all of this information about employability skills. And the third one is the post-ready competencies. This still exists, but now if students get one of the seals, it covers the other 2 boxes. If they choose to just get the base diploma, they still have to do the things in the employability skills and the post-ready, secondary ready competency box as well, if they only choose to do the base diploma. So what that means for us, here at New Prairie and how we're kind of planning to adjust is when we sat down and started looking at these courses, while we love the fact that students have flexibility, we also understand that there are still courses that and requirements like the SAT that students still have to take. They didn't take that away. Students still have to take the SAT as our accountability exam. So on our end, the changes that we plan to make as far as language arts, we plan to still require all students to take English 9 and 10. We feel like that English 9 and 10 provide a very solid base of the writing, the reading comprehension, the skills that students are going to need to be successful on that SAT. So we did not want to mess with that. So we felt like students need to keep English 9 and 10 as is. We will add that communications course into grade 11, in addition to a required 1 credit course of technical writing that will go with that. So the junior year will be the 1 credit communications course, and then in that technical writing course, we plan to do some other types of things that students have maybe been doing senior year, like resumes and you know, preparing for interviews and those kind of things that we could get done in that course. And then the English department will be looking to add any other electives as needed for students that are interested in that area or for their senior year. For math, kind of the same thing. Students still have to take the SAT. So even though the requirements just say Algebra 1, we know that students need geometry and Algebra 2 as well to be successful on the SAT. So we were going to keep those as required for students. We will add the personal finance course. We're going to do that at grade 12. We feel like at grade 12, students might actually be paying attention to what personal finance might have to say to them about, you know, getting ready to embark on their life after high school. We also feel like that's a good opportunity to help students with their FAFSA. So now that the state requires all students to fill out the FAFSA, we feel like that would be a great opportunity to really work with kids and help them along with that. We are going to remove the current local requirement we have of students have to be enrolled in 8 semesters of math. We currently have that on there. We're going to take that off because now students will get all the credits they need for the diploma, plus in that senior year, they can still take additional math courses if they want it. And we are going to encourage any student going to college to take 8 full years of math in addition to their personal finance, because we know that Purdue is still going to want you to have calculus and those kind of things. So we're not gonna quit recommending that for students who are going into fields where they will need that additional math. For science, we're going to keep biology as a requirement for all students. We're going to add computer science at grade 10. So that will be a science course. And again, this is a new science credit that hasn't typically lived in the science department. So that will be an added course for grade 10. And then looking at that STEM course, again, students are going to need those 2 credits, but the current list of courses, the only course on that sheet that currently lives in our science department is Principles of Biomedical Science. The rest of those courses are outside of the science department. So students will be required to take one of those and pass it as part of their diploma requirements. For social studies, we're going to keep U.S. history in 11th grade and government in 12th grade as it is now. We will be looking at the social studies department to start thinking about adding some electives. So as we talk about students and their career pathways, are there some things in social studies that we could add as electives that might align more with, you know, the line of work that students are going into? And we'll talk about that a little more in a minute. But for example, you know, if we have a large number of students who are interested in government, law enforcement, and public safety, maybe adding a social studies course on civil rights or something that might align to something they're interested in would help with that engagement there. So we'll be looking at that. For all others, we're going to add the Prep CC course back in as a requirement for students in grade 10. If they don't have it, we are going to add the Introduction to Public Service course into our curriculum so that we can meet the requirement for the enlistment seal. We're going to reinstitute our ASVAB testing. We had quit doing ASVAB testing because the state had quit allowing us to use that as one of the graduation checkoffs. But now that we know students will need that, we're going to add that back. And then looking at adding any other electives where needed. We're also looking at adding as many credentials of value as possible and certifications to courses where those align. So for example, in our digital design pathway, students can earn a Photoshop certification in there. So that would count for their certification or additional credentials. So we're going to get that added on there so students will be able to earn that. And then change the process of four-year planning for students in grade 8. And Mrs. Ruby is going to talk to you a little bit about that, but we kind of changed up how we worked with the 8th graders this year using some of our data from Naviance and information from our Indiana College and University partners in the Department of Labor. So she's going to share a little bit of that with you as well. Based on all of these changes, we feel that New Prairie will be able to offer students the opportunity to earn all of the seals listed there. So if you come to New Prairie High School, you can get all of the seals listed there, the Honors Plus seals. We will be equipped to offer students the ability to earn any of those that they would like to pursue. Questions we're waiting on. So several of these things, it's not uncommon that the IDOE makes some changes but doesn't always give you all the information at the exact moment. So there's some things we're still waiting on. We did get the list of STEM focused classes that kind of already addressed. We are waiting for updated course descriptions and titles from them. We did get information on the attendance goals. So like I said, if a student is trying to meet a seal with an attendance goal, they cannot be absent unexcused more than 3 times in a calendar year, in a school year. Work-based learning. So work-based learning is something that if you look on some of those seals, there is a significant amount of hours that a student would need. So it looks like we're going to be able to do some flexing on that. In the past, they have required that to happen during the school day, and it has to have a written agreement and a training plan and several things like that. It does look like they are going to give us some flexibility to let kids use hours that maybe don't always happen in the school day because, for example, a student getting the enrollment honor seal, they have to have 150 hours, I think 150 or 75 hours of work-based learning, which would be almost impossible for a student taking the rigor of courses and being involved in anything else to get that done. So they're going to give us some flexibility there. We are still waiting for their final list of credentials of value. We are waiting for some updates from them of who is actually going to be able to teach some of the courses that are listed. So, you know, what licenses teachers have to have. We're waiting for some updates on will all Indiana schools accept dual credit as is. That's one of the tricky things, that when kids get dual credit, it doesn't always transfer as that dual credit directly into their college. So they're supposedly working to make that happen. And then finally, they have told us that these diplomas and seals will figure into our funding and accountability formulas, but they have not told us how yet or why or what that would look like. So kind of the ongoing impact is we're going to be working with our current students on this old system. We had our course selection night with our incoming freshmen last week and rolled all this out to parents of incoming freshmen, you know, feeling very sorry for those parents who have kids that are living in both of those worlds right now, because it really is 2 different sets of criteria. But we'll be working to roll those kids out that are on the old system and then get the new kids coming in on this new system. As you can see from this, there's a lot of additional documentation and monitoring that our counselors are going to have to do to make sure kids are getting some of these things, since some of it happens outside of the school building. So a lot more monitoring, trying to kind of walk the line with parents and students between what the state keeps calling flexibility, but really could be confusing at first, and then trying just to maintain that stability in our master schedule, where we now see, you know, courses that used to live in one department or credits that used to be obtained in one department can now be obtained in multiple departments. So our communication, like I said, we had step update and course selection last week, went really well, met with the parents, got them that information. So we feel like we're off to a good start with them. We're going to continue to try to get them information from Naviance so they can use that with their students as well. We're also talking about, right now we meet with the freshmen, incoming freshmen on course selection, but because so much of this is changing, we really think that incoming freshman class, we'd like to start meeting with them every year, with parents every year, because there are just so many things that change. So as those kids come through, maybe starting to do sophomore course selection nights or sophomore parent meetings, to really help them navigate that and stay in touch. Student Services is going to be updating the website to make sure everything that we have talked about is on there. And then, of course, using as many of our district communication channels as possible to keep parents updated on this. So I'm going to turn it over to Angela Ruby. She's one of our counselors here at the high school, and she's going to talk to you about how we did four-year planning and course selection.
Okay, so our first events for communicating this information with the students and then their parents was four-year planning meetings over at the middle school. Four-year planning has, as long as I've known, been a Indiana state code and requirement that 8th graders are exposed to four-year planning. And over the years, we've done that in many ways. We've used blank sheets where we walked them through and tried to explain as much as we could in a day or two about the courses offered at the high school, and they were writing down what they were going to take in 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. And then we would collect those and use them to start conversations with the students. We've used Google Forms before. We have used check boxes. We've tried lots of different things. And as you might imagine, in 8th grade, that's very overwhelming to share all of that information. So this year, we did things a little bit different with the introduction to Naviance. They're doing an awesome job over at the middle school in having all of the students use some of the assessments, especially in their preparing for college and careers classes in 7th and 8th grade. And so before we went over at the beginning of February, the middle school asked all of the students to take the career cluster assessment and an interest inventory in Naviance. And so the career cluster finder has the students answer questions about some of their interests that matched up with the 16 career clusters that are identified by the U.S. Department of Labor. And the students were able to see their top matches in the career cluster finder. They also then took the career interest profiler, and they were able to see their top personality traits as defined by the Holland codes. And so when we went over then, we asked them to go into Naviance and look at their top matches in both of those assessments. And we talked to them about all of these requirements and all of the pathways that we offer and how they align with those 16 different career clusters they've been talking about in their preparing for college and careers classes, and then that they were introduced to when they came over here for Step Up Day. And instead of having them write out a four-year plan, we simplified it for them and asked them to share with us through a Google form their matches from Naviance, and then whether they saw themselves going into an employment, enlistment, or enrollment pathway. And we asked them which one of the 16 career fields they might be interested in going into. And then we give them access to pre-made four-year plans. There's an example up here. This one's in human services. So we have these for each of the pathways that we offer here that match those U.S. Department of Labor clusters. And so each four-year plan shows them exactly what they would need to take, or gives them a good idea of what they would need to take if they wanted to earn that base diploma, if they wanted to do the enrollment, employment, or enlistment seals. And so this went over really well, and I think really prepared the students for when they came over and picked their classes. So instead of being really overwhelmed and having to write in frantically some classes, we pre-made these sheets for them, and they were able to match this up to some of the work that they had already been doing.
So based on this process, and you guys have in front of you a packet, so those are all of the different ones, and in those, what we did is we took those Department of Labor clusters, and then we took our new career courses and kind of pre-made these four-year plans, as Angela said. So students could then, instead of just having to kind of in a bubble say, well, okay, my junior year, I guess I want to take this, we made these suggestions for them. So again, these are suggestions, just like any four-year plan with 8th graders, things change. Like they don't always know exactly what they want to do as 8th graders, so things change. But from that, not only were we able to kind of give them some guides and put a little bit of a guardrail around some of the new diploma requirements for them. We were also able to get some really good data from this. So if you look up on the screen, so based on the results of their career clusters, this is where students went in and put in their top 3 matches. So on our end, it gave us some really good information to see what kids are interested in. So they put in their top 3. So this is a chart that shows all of those together, but you can see we have a lot of kids interested in human services. We have a lot of kids interested in law and public safety. A lot of kids had ag as one of their top matches. A lot of kids had architecture and construction. So on our end, it kind of gives us an idea of what those students are kind of leaning towards and thinking about, and is able to help us plan as we kind of figure out what the electives are going to look like and what the courses are going to look like for this class coming through. And given that we know kind of what their top 3 are, knowing that some of them, might change and pivot, we can still kind of have this information to share with them. And then we also were able to gather this data about how many of them plan to go to college, how many of them plan to enter the workforce, how many of them plan to enlist in the military, and then how many are undecided. So about 60% said that they are interested in going on to college, 15% into the workforce, 21% undecided. So that again is some good helpful data as we're starting to help give these students guidance about what they want to do after they graduate. And then from this, we were also able to see which of the 4-year plans they had chosen. So from this, again, very helpful information for us to be able to see kind of what they're leaning towards. So, we had 15% of our students, for example, say 15% of our freshman class, incoming freshmen, say they were interested in pursuing something in architecture and construction. So that's really good information for us to have, knowing that, that could plus or minus at any time. But as we're planning on what kind of electives to offer, what kind of even staffing needs to happen, we at least have some data to help us kind of drive those decisions and see where kids are going. And then finally, the last thing, and I just wanted to share some of this because I thought these were great. We get a lot of feedback on a lot of times from people saying, well, these kids, they don't know what they want to do. Like they're 8th graders or even like they're freshmen. They don't know. And so nobody knows that better than the 2 ladies sitting behind me, that kids sometimes don't know what they want to do. But we also have a lot of kids who know really exactly what they want to do as well. So the last question that we asked students was, is there anything else you want your high school counselor to know about you or about your plans? And so these were kind of some of their answers. And you can see from this, like some of them don't know what they want to do. One of them said, I'm scared of college. It sounds kind of scary. And then you have some that know exactly what they want to do. With other information I would like my counselor to know is that I plan to go out of state for college, specifically the University of South Carolina. So that kid has very specific plans of what they want to do. But a lot of them have really thought it through. So again, now the counselors have this information, and our counselors meet with our students in person every year, at least once. And schedule classes with them. So students aren't doing this by themselves. If they chose a 4-year plan and they want to do something different, our counselors are very hands-on and very personal in helping sit down with those kids and really talk through with them what they need. So we just thought this was kind of interesting information because some kids, they do struggle, but others really, they do know exactly what they want to do, or at least think they do as 8th graders. So. If you're interested in the full State Board of Education presentation, I can share this presentation with you all. It also has the meeting on there where they made those decisions, but these are the kind of just the summary for us. So any questions for us? Okay.
I got one. The data that you presented, that you took in as far as different pathways of interest, et cetera, the different seals, is there some initial data regarding those? And okay, I'm going to be a freshman and I'm pursuing the enrollment honors plus seal, or is it too early to know? You didn't ask them what they intend to go after.
Specific seal.
Okay.
I will say, however, that as far as enrollment specifically goes, the enrollment seal, we already know aligns with students who want to go to Purdue or to IU. So any student that tells us they're interested in going to college, we're going to tell them that they need to pursue the enrollment seal. not necessarily the honors plus, but the enrollment honors seal. And we've talked to, and we told kids this the other night, if you're not sure and college might be something you want to do, we are also going to encourage you to go ahead and pursue the enrollment honor seal, because it is much easier to pivot from the enrollment to something else than it is to pivot there. So, and this is, again, nothing new for them. They have juniors show up and say, hey, I never thought I wanted to go to college, but now I do. Okay, great. You need to take these courses. And it's like, ooh, yeah, I didn't take that. So any kid who, like, that's kind of our default answer to them, because we know that that's going to meet those requirements. And then I think it's also the only seal that we know there's kind of like the courses are tied to it. It's still unclear what the other seals are going to mean. So, like, you know, if I get the employment seal, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm guaranteed a job. You know, if I get the enlistment seal, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm guaranteed to get into the Navy. So, and again, even though the enrollment seal doesn't guarantee you're getting into a certain college, we do know that it does meet requirements to put you on the right path for that.
Interesting.
I shared with the current 8th graders that really the 9th grade classes that they just picked, so the first class that'll use this diploma, really all the classes they're going to take in 9th grade are really a base for all of those seals. So they still have time to explore some of that and talk with us next year before they really take a path. So I think that helped maybe alleviate some stress and confusion in this process. That really everything that they're taking in 9th grade, they can still go on any of these paths.
And I guess it would be the slide that about 60% of the incoming class said they're pursuing post-secondary college, et cetera. 20%. So I suppose the likely seal pursuit will mirror that to some extent.
That would be our guess. I think.
Okay.
I'll be curious. I can't wait to see how that plays out.
Right.
Since we have this data, that'll be kind of interesting to see what happens.
That would. How about Naviance? I know we've, in terms of an overview of what that is, maybe just in 30 seconds, what Naviance is and how you've been able to use it to, you know, collect data like this.
So for the 8th grade, this is probably, I would say that class, the 8th grade and the seniors is probably who we focused on the most with it this year, just it being new, the 8th graders knowing that we could use it as this tool to really collect some data and do a better, and it has a lot of capacity. We're still